YouTube channel, and everyone who registered will get a follow-up email with any meeting materials that Chris has, as well as a link to the archived session. Please keep your microphones muted. We are going to actually save questions until the end. So Chris is doing a 3-part training today on M1, and all the questions will be at the end. So please write them down, and we can tell that we can do them all at the end. Chris is willing to stay later if they have a lot of questions. And with that, I would like to hand the meeting over to Chris DeRosa from NAR, and she's going to go through all the great new changes on M1. Chris.
Thank you so much, Peggy. I'm going to start. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris DeRosa with the National Association of Realtors, and I work in our, what we used to call our NERDS group, now M1, as well as Realtor e-commerce. So I'm now going to do what I always consider the most difficult part of Zoom, and that's share my screen. And hopefully you'll see an M1 screen in front of you. So what I'm going to cover today are the items that we recently released. We called it Release 2 towards the end of July, because one of the things we're doing is we're still in progress of moving some of our functions from the old NERD screens to M1. And one that we just recently did was the association screen, so I'll talk about that. We also are adding some new features as we go along. One that we've added to the office record is called Real Estate Teams. So I'll go through that. And then also a lot of what we did with that release at the end of July was to add more capabilities and functionality to our search functions and features. So that's the third part that I'll go through. Now, I'm currently logged in online to M1. I'm in the live system right now. And so what I wanted to start with is the module that we moved at the end of July from NERDS to M1, which is association. So when I come to the drop down up here at the top, you'll know that when M1 started, we started with the member and the office fields, functions, and screens. And we have now added to M1 the associations. So now when you want to do a search for associations, in the drop down, you would come and choose association. And there's several ways you can do a search. One that I used quite often in NERDS is I would just put in the state, because I just wanted a complete roster of all the associations in that particular state. That is still available. So if I just put in CA for California and click my magnifying glass, I get what I was always used to in NERDS, what I call the state roster. The state association appears first, followed by all the local associations, and then towards the end would be any regional MLSs. Now, one of the things that you'll notice when I'm on the search results is all of them are there. You're the POE, so you get to see dissolved associations as well. Maybe you're trying to find an association that has since dissolved. But just as we did with the member and office search, we have included filters for you. So I might say, you know, I want that California roster of associations, but just the ones that are currently active. So I'll choose that under status. And now I'm seeing, okay, a lot less that I have to page through because I'm now looking at just the active associations. Now, another search we've always had, and it's still there, is the search by the association ID. Especially if you're looking for your own association, obviously it's much faster to just put your association ID in, and it brings you right to that association. Or again, you know, I can search for any state I wish. The association search is open to all POEs. I've just pulled up a roster of the associations in Minnesota. Now, one of the features I love about an M1 search as opposed to NERDS was when you need to find an association by the association name. In NERDS, it had to be an exact begins with match. And that was especially frustrating for me. For boards in Florida, a lot of the Florida boards love to have their name as Realtor Association of Sarasota, Realtor Association of Manatee, Realtor Association of, and to search by name, I had to type all that in. But we've changed that in M1. So all I have to do is just type in any part of the association name and do my search, and it will bring up every association with the word inland in it. A good example here is the Inland Gateway. Their official chartered name does include that word the. In Nerds, I had to search for the Inland. If I remembered, there was a the. Now I can just put in the word inland. So that's just great. So once you've found the association, simply click on the association ID to open the record. Now, I happen to be logged in as the administrator, so I see an edit association link. But if you were viewing the association record of the Chicago Association of Realtors or Miami Association of Realtors, you would see all the information. You just would not see an edit link if you are not the POE. Now, the information in the association record is still the same, right? This mostly all comes from our Constitution and bylaws, so we didn't change anything here. You all can see the association name and address, phone number, etc. But we did make one change to the online, is a request I've had for many years from our associations. When Nerds started and up until this past July, the field in the association record called association fax number was required. So over the years, I've had associations say, oh gosh, I'm going to have to make up a phone number or put in our phone number because we don't have fax machines anymore. In fact, NAR got rid of its fax machines 6 or 7 years ago. So one of the things we changed is this field is no longer required. So if over time you've put some fake phone number in there, or you put the same as your regular phone number for the association, you can clear that field out now because it is no longer required. Also, we've added links here. So you'll see, I can see here that Tony is the AE of this association. If I want to see more about Tony's record, the name is a link. I simply click on it and it takes me to Tony's record. And again, if I were not the POE for Tony, I would just see selected information, not the whole record. So I'll just hit my back button to get back to the association record. Now, we still have, as we did in Nerds, the section for the daily active counts. These are live, and we divide them between primary and secondary by the member types. So if right now, if the Inland Gateway was in their system adding a new realtor and I refreshed my screen, this number would change. And again, all of you can see it for any association out there, but for your association, it's especially important to just keep your eye on this, especially boards who have their own AMSs, you know, like the Ramco, Rapatoni, Growth Zone, Navica, IMIS, LAMPS, Maryland Management, REMS. I apologize to anyone I forgot. And this just tells you right away, oh, good, we're in sync, you know, or is something out of sync. And also if the dues deadline is coming up or NAR director counts, things like that, great way to see if you have everything all set. The other thing that you can see here on the screen is this section we've always had called non-members. And I want to point out, especially to boards in California, this is not counting the people you've entered into the system with that type of N non-member. This is tied to NAR's Constitution, which states all associations must report the number of non-member licensees, if any, attached to a realtor broker's office. So there's a field in the office record called NM salesperson count that you update. And that's what NAR reads when it's collecting dues and assessments. So also a great place to look before that dues deadline to see, oh, do I have any? Is that number correct? And the way you can double check that is you will see up here a little link that says display non-members. So if I click that icon, I get a pop-up box and I can go, oh, that's where it's coming from, Baldwin Realty. Oh, they don't have any. I should go into that office record and fix the NM salesperson count field. So again, if you have a number showing there, our pop-up will show you which office records have that NM salesperson count field with a number greater than 0. Now, as I scroll down, one of the things you'll notice is just like with member and office, we organized everything into what we call accordions. So by putting this information in sections, it makes it, I believe, much easier to find. So the next section, and if you recall from Nerds, it was links over here, links over there, links up, links down. Now we have the sections. So the next section, association leadership. And again, the fields are the same. Keep in mind, NAR only looks at the current leadership fields, but future and prior are there if you'd like to fill them in. We do ask that you fill in the current president, president-elect, and treasurer, because NAR uses those for all sorts of things, for registrations, for focus groups, communications, etc. And again, as you're viewing this information, the leadership's names are links. So if I need to see more about Adrian Nagel, the current president, I just click on that link and Adriana's record, member record comes up. And again, I'll just back button here to go down to my sections. The next, pay no attention to this section. This is a section only I see to track the POEs, but we also have displays of the members and the offices in that association. So if I open up the member section, I will see all the active members, any member type, who are primary or secondary with this association. And I can sort by any of these columns by clicking on the column name, and I can see links. The member ID link takes me to that member's record. The office name link takes me to that office record, and the association link takes me to that association record. So if I click association name to sort, right, and you might think, well, why in the world is a member of the Phoenix Association showing up here in the Inland Valley? Well, that's because Kelly is primary with Phoenix and she is secondary with this board, which is why she is appearing here. Now, if you're a smaller association, you can probably get most of this to fit on one screen, or if you click display all, the little icon here at the top, again, a small association would then get all of them on one screen. But if you're a very large association and we don't want to kill your browser, it will display 100 at a time. So again, you can sort this list, click the links, etc. Also on the association record, same thing. We have an accordion or section that displays all the active offices, both primary and secondary with this association. I can click any of the column headers to sort that way. I can click the office ID link to go to that office. I can click on the association link to go to the association record, and I can click on the DR's name to go to that member's record. So again, I can click on any column to sort. I can click display all so that my screen shows 100 at a time. So I'll go ahead and close that accordion up. So again, with the association record, you can still search by the state, the association ID, or any part of the association name. Once you get your result list, you can certainly narrow it down by status, city, state. When you select an association, all of you can see all of this information I just went through But if you're the POE, you do get to see the edit association link. So obviously you can make your changes. Now, one last thing on the association record. There are two things you cannot change and have never been able to. One is the association name. That actually goes through a whole process with our policy area. And once the chartered name change has been approved, they let me know, and I'm the one who updates that. And the other thing you cannot change is the status of the association. Again, if your association is dissolved or merged, that's a whole process with our policy area. So even on a bad day, you cannot go in and dissolve your own association. So again, and I'm going to click the Members First logo. That always gets me back to the home page. So hopefully this makes it much easier, I think, to find associations, sort, and find the data that you're looking for. Now, the next section that we introduced is something brand new. And I'm going to switch screens here. So anybody yell out if you don't see a screen that has a graph in the middle of it. Because for this, I want to be in our test system because I don't really want to change somebody's actual information. So the other new thing we added has to do with offices. So again, with my drop down, I'm going to choose office. And I'm going to pull up an office record to talk about a new feature that we added to offices. And so once I pull up an office, if this is my, I'm working on one of my offices, we have a whole new accordion or section here called Office Real Estate Teams. Now I want to give you just a quick background on this. NAR are institute societies and councils like CCIM, IREM, etc. We have one called REBI, R-E-B-I. They used to be called CRB. They do the CRB designation. And one of their certifications is called CRETS, Certified Real Estate Team Specialist. So when we had an ask from our associations and several of our regional MLSs, oh, it would be nice if we could track real estate teams in M1. We went to REBI because they're the authority on real estate teams to get the background on the policy. So just a few things on a real estate team. First of all, a team must have at least 2 members on it, and they have to be active realtor associates. Without 2, it's not a team. They must be under the supervision of the same broker. And they're forming a team because they want to work together on real estate transactions, represent themselves to the public, as a real estate team. So when a team is created, it's attached to an office. So if there is a firm called DeRosa Realty, and there's only one location, 14 Elm Street, then the POE of that office record is the one who creates the team. If I have a real estate firm, Sunshine Realty, and let's say it has 6 locations, 6 different offices in M1, it is okay for a team to be formed with realtors from those different offices, as long as the POE has tied those offices together using the main office ID, which has always been there. We use it for director counts in the office record. Also, when you're working with a firm like that, it would be the POE of the office that is the main office ID that would create the team. But when you create the team, as long as the members are in the same firm, it's okay if they're not members of your board. You still get to put them on a team. So you would start again by pulling up the office record for which you are the POE, go to Office Real Estate Team section, and you will see a little button that says Add Team. Now, just a few things. It is required that you give it a team name. And just be aware, this is not a computer requirement, but just be aware when realtors start to come to you, hey, we're forming a team, you need to make sure they've had the team name approved by the broker. Now, every team must have a team leader. So you need to, again, make sure that you select the member ID of someone who's in that office. And it even will say, Chris, did you mean Graham Eric as the team leader? Yes, I do. Now, some teams can have a website, some don't. It's not required. So I might say we are really great.com. Also, some teams have a team email, right? Call us today, really great at gmail.com or whatever. Now, Rebbe tells me it's rare. They tell me most folks will have their own individual email address rather than one group email, so it's not required. Now, you can see as I'm building this team, I have one member so far, the team leader, but it won't let me add this team until I have at least one more. So again, next to add team members, I'll click that little icon, and I have checked out the member I'm looking for, member ID, but you can search by the name and other things as well, license, but I just put in the Nerds ID. Jenna Sloman, so I'm going to click on her and choose. So now I do have 2 team members. So that's enough to form a team. Now, a few things about once you add the team. If at any point any of your team members go inactive, they will automatically drop off the team. And if that leaves it with just one, it will automatically inactivate the team. If Gina, let's say I have 3 people on this team, Gina moves to another brokerage, the system will automatically remove her from this team since she no longer works for this real estate firm. So a lot of the cleanup is done for you, but you can always come back to the team, add new people, change who the team leader is, to take care of all of that. And when you're done, you simply click Add Team and you get the success message. So once the teams are in place, anyone searching for this office, any POE searching for this office, I'm going to now just search the office here. Now, if you're not the POE, you won't see the edit link, but you can still view, does this firm have any real estate teams? Oh, yes, they do. And you can open that up and see, oh, they have a team called Really Great Team. Eric Graham is the leader, and they have 2 members on this team. You can also drill down on the team. Again, if you're not the POE, you won't see edit, but you will at least get to see which members are on this real estate team. Now, the other thing you can do is when you're searching a member. So let's say I'm pulling up one of my members in my Find a Member here up at the top. So I pull up Eric's record, and as the POE, I get to see all of Eric's information, including contact information. This is the personally identifiable information, home address, email, etc. And it will show me right here if Eric is a member of a team. And he is the Really Great Team, and he happens to be the team leader. And I can click on this link to go view the team itself. Now, when I talked about team email, remember that email address is if the team has created a group email and you've put that in the team record itself. But as I've noticed with a lot of real estate teams I've looked at, a lot of them will, have their own email address for the team. So, it's still a personal email address. So you can do that as well. So again, that is the purpose behind this, is that when realtors come to you and say, hey, we formed a team within our firm, is there something you can put in so other, associations, staff people can see these teams? You certainly can do that. Now, again, there's no obligation that you do so. Obviously, not every brokerage has a real estate firm, real estate team. And a lot of realtors out on realtor.com build their own profile page and talk about their own team themselves. But this is a great new feature for those of you who would like to track if any of your offices have formed real estate teams. So I'm going to switch my screen to go back to the actual live M1 here. And what I want to talk about next is when we released M1, I believe it was late January, the most amount of questions we got and suggestions had to do with searches. Can I look for a member this way? How do I do a search if I'm trying to find an office this way? And so we've added on and we've improved as we've gone along to our searches. And I'm going to start with, again, remember the drop down up here is how you tell M1 what record type you are looking for. I'm going to start with member. Now, when M1 first came out, the way that this search worked is if you wanted to find someone by their first and last name, you had to use the word "and" in all caps. Well, that's one of the things we got rid of back in July. So now if I'm looking for a member, I just need to type in their first and last name without the word "and" I will get them that way. So I don't have to remember the "and." Another thing I can do, I use this a lot, is if I am not sure how something is spelled. So let's say I certainly know the first name is Maricela, but her last name, I know somebody told me it's like A-B-A-S something that I don't remember. That's where what we call the wildcard, which is an asterisk, comes in. Because you're telling M1, I know it starts with A-B-A-S, I'm not sure how it ends. And it will find everyone who has those characters in their last name. So again, very helpful. Sometimes I'm not sure, is the person I'm looking up Johnson or Johnson? How is the end of it spelled? That is very helpful. Another search that we added at the end of July is we heard some from boards who might say, Chris, we have an awful lot of John Smithsonians, father and son. Can't I narrow my search down by including the middle initial? And now you can. So the way you would do that search is you would start with the last name, comma, first name, and middle initial. And again, this is not case sensitive. It does not care if you use caps or not. So by narrowing it down this way, if there are 10 Jean Aguilars out in M1 and you don't want the whole list, the middle initial. If you search that way, last name, comma, first name, middle initial, it will narrow it down to just those folks. Now, another search that most of our POEs will do, especially when they have someone who comes to their board and says, hi, I'd like to apply for membership. And you all ask that question, have you ever been a member before? And they all say, I'm not sure. You can always say, do you have a real estate license? And what is that license number? Because license number is required in NERDS M1, it's in there. So I can search member by just the license number. And then I can say, Michael, you are already a member currently with the Greater San Diego Association. Now, you can, again, I did this on purpose to get one result. But if I happen to put in a license number that's used in California and also, let's say, by the Alabama licensing board, both results would come up. And you could then, of course, still use these filters to narrow it down by state or association or member type. But searching for license is very helpful when you have someone who maybe they should be saying, I'd like to join your association as secondary, not, hi, I'm brand new and have never been a realtor before, because that license will also search inactive records. right? So it still would have pulled up Michael, and you could have said, oh, I don't need to add a new record for you, Michael. I see you were a member of Greater San Diego, since inactive, but we'll just simply reinstate you and transfer you to our board. And then the other search, this we added at the end of July, and this was specifically a request from the California Association of Realtors, was the ability to search by the email address. Now, I like this as well because sometimes I get emails from people and it just says their email address. So just type in their email address, do the search, and there you go. That will bring up that person, and that's their email address. Now, this will get even more useful as time goes on, because one of the new rules we put in M1, it's not in the old NERD CDB, which your AMSs communicate with, but once they switch over to communicating with M1, this rule will kick in for you as well, but currently it's online only. When you add a new member, realtor, realtor associate, email is still a required field, but the new rule is what you put in must be unique. No one else in the database can have that same email address. Now over time, as you make a change to a member, the system will stop and go, oh, well, you're here changing their last name. You need to make this email address unique. And that will make this search more helpful because you'll know you'll only get one result when you search this email address. So again, when searching for a member, as I mentioned, use that wildcard if you're not sure, you know, how does it start or how does it end? You don't need to use the word and anymore when you are saying, hey, this should be the first, this should be the last name. If you have a lot of people with the same first and last name, but different middle initials, remember to do the last name, comma, first name, middle initial to narrow it down. Search by license, very helpful. Searches across all types and statuses when you're trying to nail down if someone's been a member before. And then what we added at the end of July is the ability to search by the person's email address. Now, the other searches that we've done with upgraded things over time is when you're looking for an office. So again, drop down. I want to make sure I click office because that's what I'm searching for. Now, if you know the exact name of the office, just simply type it in and it will bring up everything with 3D Realty in that office name. And then don't forget, you can narrow it down. Oh, I just wanted the active ones. And now I brought it down to 8 results. Maybe I just want the ones in California. Now, a question I often get from folks doing these searches, whether member or office, is when they go to the filters, they might say, Chris, you know what? It doesn't list all 50 states. It just lists these 4. That's the search being helpful. The search is telling you that of all the 3D Realties, they're only in these 4 states. There are none in Hawaii, and that's why Hawaii is not choosable. So I will just narrow it down to California, and now I get just the 3D Realties that are in the state of California. Now on any search, member, association, office, if I've applied a filter that I want to take away without starting all over again, just simply go to that filter like state and click the little X there. And now I'm back to, hey, I don't care what state it's in, just give me every 3D Realty. So again, if you know the exact name, that's a great way to search for an office. Now, another way to search for an office, and I'm going to cheat here, I'm going to grab this office ID, especially if you're the POE and you know the office ID of the one you're looking for, just simply put the office ID in and search on that, and that will bring that one office right up for you. Now, this search is very helpful. I use this a lot because a lot of times I don't know if a real estate firm has the word realty, real estate, Inc., whatever it is. But if I know that the name starts with Far West, I'm going to end it with the asterisk, saying, I don't know if it's Far West Realty, Far West Properties, Far West Real Estate, just Far West asterisk, and it will bring up everything that has those words in the office name. And again, I can come over here and narrow it down. I can see these are all the states that have an office called Far West in them. And I might just choose California, and then I can narrow it down by city. And again, not every city in the state of California will show on this list. It narrowed it down for me already. It already told me, Chris, of all the ones in California, they're only in these cities. Okay, well, let me choose Fresno. Now oh, great. I knew there was a Far West something something in Fresno, California, and this is how I can easily narrow that down. Now, one other search that I really like when it comes to office is the ability to search all the offices by the designated realtor. Many times in the Nerds Day, I would get calls from POEs. Hey, Chris, we're trying to determine if all these offices belong in one firm. Maybe we're working on the main office ID. How do I get a list of every office that has a certain person as the DR? So you can do that here. Again, I've selected office and I know the name of the DR. And again, I don't have to use the word and, I just put in the first last name. And now, as you can see, it has brought up every office where that person is the designated realtor. I can see there's a total of 6. Maybe I want to narrow this down just by the active ones. Wonderful. Now I can see the 6 offices, 6 active offices in M1 where I have this person listed as the designated realtor. And again, if it was a long list, you could use the different filters to narrow that down. So again, very helpful with the office. Obviously, you can search by the office ID, the name of the office with an asterisk, right? Well, okay, I'm not quite sure. I know how it starts, not quite sure how it ends. And also you can search by the first and last name of the person who's the designated realtor. And as always, use those filters to narrow it down. And on the result list, whether it's association search, a member search, or an office search, you can always click on any of these columns to sort it. You know, alpha A to Z, Z to A, sort by the office ID, etc. That's all available to you. Now, one other search I want to talk about, and this search is open only to points of entry, and I always recommend it's a great search to use. It was on Nerds, but it was hard to find. And this you will find underneath Take Action, find a POE, right? Maybe I'm looking at the daily changes, or maybe I pulled up a member and it says terminated, and I'm, oh, you know, I better get a hold of that association. Well, and especially with very large associations, you can go to the association search and see who the AE, the CEO is, but chances are they're not the one doing the membership records. You want to get right to the point of entry. So I need to find who is the point of entry for the Pacific West Association. So I'll come here to the association field and I'll start typing in Pacific West. That's what I want. I'll click search and perfect. Aldo is the point of entry. Oh, and he actually manages 2 associations. Perfect. I need to, oh, and by the way, you're not going to see an impersonate button down here. That's just for me. But the email address is a link. So you can click that and immediately start composing an email to Aldo. Now, here's another way that I use Find a POE. Sometimes I will get an email from someone. Hi, Chris. I'm a POE. I have a question about such and such. Thanks, Susie. And she doesn't mention her full name or the association, or the association she works for is GBOR. Well, we got hundreds of associations that are G something. That's why I also love to find a POE by their email address. So, maybe I got that email. I'm trying to respond, but I would like to know what association they belong to first. I can do a search just by that email address, and I see, oh, that's Alicia at Sierra North Valley. Okay. And again, I'll see any and all associations she manages, and I can also click that email to start an email to her immediately with whatever question that I have. So again, great little feature under Take Action called Find a POE. So I would encourage everyone to use that when you need to contact someone at another association that actually deals with the membership. And then last, I'm going to switch my tabs here. I want to go back to the test system so I don't do anything for real. There's one other thing that we introduced at the end of July, and I want to make sure that the POE contacts know this. So as the POE contact, for every association that manages itself and or others, I have paperwork on file. I have the security set up so that we know that this person is the contact for the POE at that board. In the past, when the POE contact would change, you still need to let us know. I have to update the security file, who's the new name of the new person or email. You would also need to come to us to change the POE password. Well, you don't need to do that anymore. When you've logged in as the POE, right here in your dropdown, you're going to see change password. So that's when you know what your current POE password is and you want to change it to something else. So we don't have to get involved anymore. Now, if your current POE contact left, you've hired a new person, again, you still need to let us know about that. But the person who left never told you guys what the POE password was. Obviously, you can't use this function because it requires you know the current one. Now you still get a hold of our help team because once we update the POE name, email, etc., we have a button we can click that will send you an email where you can set your password. Again, we don't want to know what it is, but we'll send you a link so you can set a new password if you've forgotten your current one. So again, I just wanted to point out that's something we added at the end of July. So again, you can manage your own secure POE password, your M1, 1965 username's password. So I go back to the home page here, and just one last thing before I take folks' questions. You'll notice when you're logged in at the top, there is a link called M1 Help. So we have gotten rid of paper. We have a really gorgeous content management system that I do all of this in. It manages, we have our online help, which is great. So if I'm in M1 and you go to a function like add a member or add code of ethics or whatever it is you're doing, you will see a question mark. If you click it, it brings up the chapter of that particular function that you're on. We also have field level help. So if I'm adding a new member and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what should I be putting in member type, if there's a question mark next to that field, it will explain that field for you. Now, in addition to that, under M1 Help is the full user manual. So there's a chapter here on every function in M1. You simply click that chapter and there's a button that you can print it out as a PDF. We also have the M1 newsletters, just like the old Nerds News. I publish this the last month of each, or the last week of each month. So, the last week of September, if you come in here, you'll see the September issue. And I also put the little notification in the corner when you log in. This is where you'll also see quick takes. These are recorded training lessons, right? On using the online member application, search member. Here's the latest one that we did on associations and real estate teams. And quick reference guides are these nice little, PDF cards you can print out if you just need the bare bones of, okay, how do I transfer a member? So please be sure to take advantage of all of that we've been able to put in M1 help for you, so that you have your help there. You can print that out and, basically have your own handouts for that. And finally, don't forget, we're still here. So we still have our 800 number from 8 to 6 p.m. Central Time. And we still have the link that will take you to our email, our group email, for any help you may need. And also don't forget to check out the FAQs. By the time I hear the same question from like 10 POEs, I create an FAQ for that. All right, Peggy, that concludes everything I was to show today. So certainly open for questions.
Chris, thank you so much. Boy, that was a fire hose of information. Everybody, you can either post your question in the chat or let us know in the chat that you have a question, or you can raise your hand by going to the reactions and raise your hand through that if you've got a question. And not seeing a barrage of them, if anyone has a question, you're also welcome to unmute and ask Chris. Anybody?
Hi, Peggy.
Wow.
Hi, it's Sue Ruane. I had a question about, and I don't know if you've gone over this before, and if you did, I missed it, was us making payments in the e-commerce. Do you have time to go over that really quick about where we find that in the new system?
So, Sue, are you talking about adding a financial record to a member's record, or actually typing in a payment like a credit card number for a member paying dues?
No, I was talking about the e-com, when we pay for our membership, our members.
Okay, that is quite involved. So I would recommend this. So remember, when we're on M1, we have the M1 help at the top. When you log into the e-commerce menu over here, you're going to see e-commerce help. And if you click that under quick take, Sue, we have recorded a lesson on exactly what you're asking for.
Oh, perfect. All right, I will do that. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Chris, Electra has a question in the chat and wants to know, when it comes to M1 dues payments, can you go over the acronyms?
I'm going to guess that somebody probably means payment types. So let me pull up a member here who I know has financial. So in NERDS, we called this section financial records, and you know how all of the POEs in California have to add those. On the new M1 screen, we called them member dues payments. So stop me if I'm completely on the wrong path. But for acronyms, I'm thinking you might be talking about payment types.
She is.
Okay, so NATL is national dues. IMAG is NAR's Consumer Ad Awareness Campaign Assessment. STAT are state dues. LOCL are local dues. All the rest are state specific. So I know California has one called maybe HAF, PAC, etc. So for all the rest, you would need to check in with your state association to see what those mean. But the ones I just gave you are the ones used by all associations.
A PS is one that she was asking about. PS.
Yeah, that's not a national one. That's a C.A.R. one. So Kiesman at C.A.R. would be the best bet to let you know what each of those mean. Those are specific to the state of California.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else? We've still got a little bit of time if you've got any questions. I am not seeing any or hands raised. Looks like you were pretty thorough, Chris.
Well, and that tells me that all your folks read the newsletters and read the help, so that's fantastic as well.
Yeah, I see a lot of staff in the participants window, so I think they're probably have been keeping up on this. So I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, great, Chris.
I can take a quick moment, Peggy, just to do a coming soon. So
Sure.
remember how I said eventually we're moving the things off of Nerds to M1, but there's still some things in Nerds, right? If I click batch refresh, you're going to go, boy, that looks like a Nerd screen, and that's true. So the next we'll be releasing, where we don't have a date yet. It'll be this year, so check your email, check our newsletter. We'll be moving the daily changes to an M1 look. And the batch refresh will stay here because the way it is now is used by AMSs, but we're going to add another one called member data extract for our POEs. Daily changes will have things like allowing you to save it as a CSV. People have asked for that for years. Being able to say, you know what, I just want one section. I just want the COE ads. I don't need, all those other little changes. And the new member data extract will include functions like allowing you to say, please include column headers. Please let me schedule it so it runs every Monday at 10 a.m., et cetera. So a whole bunch of new stuff coming. So the next things we're moving to the new M1 look and feel and functionality is the daily changes and an additional batch refresh for POEs called data extract. So again, please be sure to watch your emails for when we announce it, when we announce training, and when we announce the date we'll be implementing. So that's my little commercial for coming soon.
Great, Chris. Thank you so much. Anybody else, any last questions while we still have a couple of minutes and we have Chris here? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for all the participants, and we'll see you all soon. I'll be sending out a follow-up email as soon as I get all the information together and we get this recording uploaded to YouTube. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.